Welcome to FEO on the Air, the voice of the festivals and events industry in Ontario. This week, it's FEO Masterclass with your host, FEO CEO Dave MacNeil.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of FEO on the Air. I'm Dave MacNeil, CEO. Today, a day we've all been waiting for all year long. It's the day we talk about Experience Ontario. The grant was launched last Tuesday, a week ago today, and we're very pleased to have Tiffenni Wilkinson from the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Gaming with us today to talk about the grant, the application process, some tips and tricks, and everything we want to know about getting our grant in and having the best chance for it to make its way through this system. Welcome, Tiffenni.
Hi, Dave. Thank you so much for having me here today. We are always thrilled to have an opportunity to talk about Experience Ontario and support as everyone starts working on their applications and taking a look at the program. So thank you, Festivals and Events Ontario, for having us today.
So we're 1 week out. We've got a lot of stuff to go through. I'm going to ask anybody that has questions to please write them in the chat, and I'll relay them to Tiffenni. Tiffenni, the floor is yours. Over to our presentation.
Thank you. And I certainly can appreciate that we might have a lot of listeners on the call today that may or may not be seeing the presentation live, but when the recording gets posted, you'll see the deck that we've got before us that will kind of help guide me to ensure that I am presenting you with the most information. But also we're going to remind you probably several times throughout the presentation to always review the application guidelines. So the presentation itself is just an iteration of those guidelines. And so the guidelines is where we would point everyone for the most information. I'm going to take a moment and just introduce myself a little bit more about who is Tiffenni Wilkinson. So I am a Tourism Regional Development Advisor with the Regional Services Branch at the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Gaming. I've been in the tourism industry for over 20 years. Primarily, my tenure has been at the Ontario Science Centre in several capacities, including tourism partnerships, international sales, business development. I've spent some time at Destination Ontario, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be with the Ministry of Tourism, Culture, Gaming now, and to have this opportunity to chat with you all and also provide you with services throughout the year. So we're going to talk just a little bit about what Regional Services is and who we are, what we do, so that you understand how we're here to support you all throughout the year. And then we're certainly going to then dive into Experience Ontario, why we're all gathered here today. So the Regional Services Branch, we support the delivery of programs and provide consulting services to organizations at the local and regional level. There's over 18 offices across 4 regions in the province. These regions, we kind of split up into the West region, Central region, East region, Northern region. There's 70 regional development advisors in total, 21 of which are French designated, 11 are specifically focused on the tourism industry. We have a community regional development advisors, and then, as I had said, the tourism regional development advisors. We focus on supporting several ministries, including our own at the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Gaming. We work with and we support communities, municipalities, not-for-profit organizations, Indigenous organizations, First Nations, and various stakeholder groups. We work very closely with the RTOs across the province. Our advisors provide support in the areas of tourism, culture, heritage, sport and recreation, and seniors and accessibility. And some of the areas where we provide support services can include grant administration and program delivery, capacity building, organizational support. We gather intelligence, local intelligence. We also support various departments internally. We represent the stakeholders of Ontario and our tourism operators internally as well. And we provide public affairs support to the Minister's office. So what we're going to cover today related to Experience Ontario, we're going to talk about what's new. We're excited to have a couple of things that are new this year. The eligibility requirements, assessment criteria, the timelines, which are really key because they're really quick, the application process. We'll just talk a little bit about TPON, and then we're happy to get into some questions before we wrap up today.
And Tiffenni, I'm just going to jump in. Jay's going to be popping some links in the chat for how to get in touch with the different regional advisors and different things about the program. So keep your eye on the chat. And again, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I'll relay them to Tiffenni.
Yes, that's fantastic, Dave. And it's just on that note, for the Regional Tourism Development Advisors, we do have a map online. So you could enter in your postal code of where your area is, and it will bring up the list of advisors that service your area specifically, because we are on the ground locally. For Experience Ontario, you'll want to look at the Tourism Regional Development Advisor, and that's how you'll find the folks that can connect with you about the program. So Experience Ontario 2026 provides support for festivals and events with a tourism economic impact to motivate visitors to discover Ontario, connect people with local experiences, and increase tourism spending. Experience Ontario is a highly competitive program. Applications will be measured against program criteria, and there is no guarantee of funding, even for past recipients. We encourage all applicants to explore and prospective support and partnership opportunities when planning your festivals and events. Oh, apologies for that. Experience Ontario 2026 supports in-person festivals and events in Ontario that will offer programming that encourages people to travel and experience events in person and celebrate Ontario, draw tourists and increase visitor spending through innovative programming and partnerships, business and community partners, provide job opportunities for Ontarians in the tourism, culture, and entertainment sector, and increase Ontario's profile through various media channels. What's new for Experience Ontario this year? The capacity building stream. We're very excited to have this option available for new events that may be interested in starting something brand new in Ontario. These are net new. This stream is intended for eligible organizations producing a festival or an event for the first time. So these are events that have not been produced previously in Ontario. Established event stream. This established event stream retains the core features of the previous iterations of the Experience Ontario program with select modifications, which includes, when you're doing your application this year, you can include your tourist attendance of a minimum 30% of your overall attendance, or 5,000 tourists from at least one of the previous 3-year periods. So you take a look at what your best year was in the last 3 years, and you can talk to us about what those attendance numbers look like for your tourists. The capacity building stream, eligible applicants can apply for up to a maximum of $10,000 per eligible organization. This stream is intended for eligible organizations producing a festival or event for the first time. This stream encourages festival event organizers to submit an application for festivals events that would be new to Ontario. And new events are defined as those who have not been produced previously in Ontario. They have not been submitted to Experience Ontario program or any previous iteration of the funding program. And they are not just a rebranded or modified version of previous events. Those would not be eligible. The established event stream, the maximum funding amount for Experience Ontario for the 2026 established event stream is determined through a 3-tier model based on the organization's previous year's actual festival or event cash expense total. So for Tier 1, the signature, tourism festivals or events with a total event cash expense of $1 million or greater would be eligible to receive up to 50% of eligible cash expenses, up to a maximum of $125,000. For Tier 2, emerging, tourism festivals or events with a total cash expense between $250,000 and $999,999, under $1 million, will be eligible for up to 50% of eligible cash expenses, up to a maximum of $55,000. And Tier 3, the community, tourism festivals or events with a total event cash expenses of less than $250,000 could be eligible for up to 50% of eligible cash expenses, up to a maximum of $20,000. So this is the same as last year's program. For the eligibility requirements, it's important to note eligible organizations. So you must be a legal entity established by or under legislation federally or provincially incorporated, or a First Nation in the province of Ontario. You have to have been in existence since January 1st, 2025 or before. Not in default on the terms and conditions of any grant or loan agreement with any ministry or agency of the Government of Ontario. An operating business conducting business in Ontario. For example, business address, physical presence, and have a Canadian bank account in the legal name of the applicant at the Canadian financial institution. And a note, Ineligible organizations are sole proprietorships, limited partnerships, limited liability partnerships, and general partnerships. Federal and provincial governments and their agencies are not eligible. For the eligible festival or event, it must take place between April 1st, 2026 and March 31st, 2027, over a minimum of 2 consecutive days and consist of a minimum of 5 hours of programming each day. Will be open to the public at large and take place in Ontario. Follow all municipal and provincial guidelines, including health and safety guidelines. And please note, one-day tourism festivals or events that are held on Canada Day are eligible to apply for funding. For a comprehensive list of eligibility requirements, we do remind you to check out the Experience Ontario 2026 guidelines. Ineligible festivals or events that are only a one day or that don't have 2 consecutive days of programming, with the exception of the Canada Day events. Festivals or events that are receiving funding through Ontario's Sport Hosting Program or the Ontario Music Investment Fund are not eligible for Experience Ontario. Festivals or events that seek to attract only a special interest audience, restrict audience, as in students only, for example, or recruit new members are not eligible. Symposia, conventions, meetings, conferences, seminars, clinics, workshops, contests, or events that are solely consist of an award show are not eligible for the Experience Ontario funding. It's important to note that the list of ineligible festivals and events are the same for both streams for Experience Ontario program. And if you're unsure if your event meets the criteria, please reach out to us, your tourism regional development advisors, and we can assist you. So some changes to Experience Ontario eligibility. Established event stream. Eligible events must demonstrate the overall attendance of at least 30 to 5,000 tourists. This is what we mentioned earlier. You can select the strongest year that you've had within the last 3 years. For capacity building, the new program stream, it supports net new festivals. Eligible events must not have received an Experience Ontario grant. So we're just reiterating the reminder of what the 2 new items are for Experience Ontario this year. Let's talk a little bit about what you need to do to apply. You must have a Transfer Payment Ontario account. We also tend to refer to this as TPON. A My Ontario account must be created to be registered with TPON. We've included a QR on the screen, but we've also have the links provided to Festival and Events Ontario. You might see them in the chat, or we can provide them to you in follow-up. Incorporation documents must match your organization's legal name as registered in Transfer Payment Ontario. It's not required for municipalities or First Nations. This is very important because if there is a conflict there, that might slow down or possibly cause your application to not be eligible. The Canadian Revenue Agency business number, if you don't have one, please apply for the CRA business number online and then follow the steps that they provide. And in your financial statements, income statement, balance sheet, and the notes, audited financial statements must include the auditor's opinion on the statements. For the review engagement reports, a professional assurance that the financial statements are free of the materials misstatements. The statements should be final and signed by the board of directors. I would also say, as a tourism regional development advisor, it's really important that you provide all of the mandatory documents and ensure that they are complete when you're submitting your application. Let's talk a little bit about the assessment criteria. The application evaluation process involves a fair and consistent assessment of the merit of submissions against the stated eligibility requirements and mandatory requirements to ensure that festivals and events meet the program criteria. The Ministry of Tourism, Culture, Gaming cannot guarantee funding to all participants, including past recipients, nor can the ministry ensure the total amount requested by successful applicants will be granted. To be considered for funding, applications must score a minimum of 50 points from a possible 100. And as mentioned new this year, priority sector festivals and events or organizations can receive additional 5 points. Francophone Ontarian organizations can receive additional 10 points. I'll talk a little bit more about this this slide. There we go. Your assessment criteria. So we do provide this in the guidelines as well. So you will see how the different sections score in terms of what their weight are and where the opportunities are for the bonus points. We look at organizational capacity, so we want to know about the financial stability, the fiscal governance, successful management of events. In this section, it is worth 15 points. So even though you may check a box that you have these things in order, it's really important that you provide us with more detail on what that looks like so we understand the broader organizational capacity. That's a pro tip for maximizing your points in the scoring weight here. Festivals and event information, provide your full event description. Innovation, this is a section where we want to know what might be unique about your event or what new and innovative element might you have happening this year. A festival and event programming details, so your alignment to the program objectives, the performance measures, and the impact of the government support. How is the Experience Ontario funding going to help you deliver on your festival or event? Marketing and communication economic development. This is a really key section as well. We like to see your marketing plan, what you're doing to market to tourists, community economic development. The community economic development piece could look like your partnerships. Are you partnered with local hotels, restaurants, other area service providers? How is your event providing that broader economic lift in the area in which your event is being held? We like to see whether you have formal or informal partnerships or discussions with other organizations that are around your event and how we're really going to maximize the impact of having visitors come to that area. Your event budget, aligned expenses, and diverse financing and revenues are important to note. That is a total of 100 points there. The bonus points are in the priority sectors. To be classified as a priority event, the event and the applicant organization must meet the definitions as outlined in the application guidelines. Essentially, your organization must be mandated to deliver in these priority sectors. For programming, we find it very important that these elements are in the diversification of your programming, but in terms of the bonus points, it must be mandated to service in these priority sectors. And the Francophone festivals and events will receive a total of 10 bonus points. So your total possible score with your awesome application could be 110 points. For the capacity building stream, it's slightly different, but most of the sections are similar. So the organizational capacity, financial stability, successful management of events, your partnerships. For the capacity building stream, you must provide a business case. Because these are net new events, we want to know a little bit more about what the plan looks like. What's the value proposition, the governance, the anticipated impact, and the implementation plan. Festivals and event information innovation, description, and again, the innovation, what is unique about this event, what innovative programming might you have, programming details, alignment to the program objectives, performance measures, tracking of results, and that impact of government support. And your marketing, communication, economic development, very similar to the established stream. We want to see that marketing plan, how you are planned to market to attract tourists, and community economic development. And the event budget, aligned expenses, diversity, financing, and revenues. And again, there's opportunity similar to the established stream for the priority sectors and Francophone. Just a little bit more elaboration on the business case. These are required. So a short business case that demonstrates the viability of the proposed events and tell us who you will be working with on the planning and delivery, who are your partners, and what are the gaps of the market that this event will support. And forgive me if I haven't already highlighted, the definition of tourist by this program is anyone from 40 kilometers or beyond or cross-border. So anything that you're doing to attract folks from the areas outside of your local region, 40 kilometers and above, are considered tourists. The priority events that I mentioned, Francophone Tourism Festival event, Indigenous Tourism Festival event, 2 SLGBTQIA+ Tourism Festival event, or the Ethnocultural Program Festival events. The definitions of these can be found in the guidelines. We also include a Northern Tourism Festival event or the Rural Tourism Festival or event. Let's take a look at the timelines. So the application intake, as Dave mentioned, it opened on November 18th, and the deadline is December 16th at 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I highly recommend, following this call, we start the process of logging on to TPON and taking a look at the application and starting the work on the application process. We like to encourage folks to try to submit early, just to anticipate any technical difficulties you might have. We really want to see us start to work on these now. I also recommend that you contact your tourism regional development advisors in advance. So we're here now up until that date all year long, but up until that date for Experience Ontario, contact us early so we can really provide you with some great feedback and pro tips as you work through your application. The application evaluation period will happen in late December. The evaluation results will be determined spring 2016, and the minister's announcements of successful recipients will be into spring 2026. The application process, so setting yourself up for success. Do review that criteria relevant to the stream that you are applying for as outlined in the Experience Ontario guidelines. Contact your Tourism Regional Development Advisor for consultation. One application per stream. So an organization, if eligible, could apply for both streams. So that's important to note. Present accurate revenue and expense budgets reflecting the program eligible and ineligible expenses. Follow all instructions, eligibility requirements, and funding guidelines. Submit your application through TPON. And as I said, our pro tip, apply early to stay ahead of deadlines and to avoid any potential last-minute hiccups. And a reminder, this is really important. Incomplete applications are not eligible for funding. There is no appeal process for unsuccessful applicants. If the application is incomplete, if the mandatory documents are not submitted, you may not be eligible for funding. So it's, again, we cannot stress it enough, Dave. We really want our applicants to make sure they're following the guidelines and contact us if they have any questions. We don't want to miss an opportunity to apply for Experience Ontario.
Tiffenni, just a quick question there. If you're filling out your application in TPON, will it tell you when you submit it that it's incomplete?
No, it will not tell you if it's incomplete. It does ask you to review before you submit. So just to kind of go through and check all the boxes and make sure that you're ready to submit.
So it won't tell you that you've missed a box or you've missed attaching a document or...
So some of those are mandatory sections. So it won't let you proceed without filling out the mandatory sections. You'll get that little red star that will point you back to some of those empty spots. With the documents, because you're providing attachments, some depending on the organization in which stream you're applying for, some might have it all in one attachment, some might have it in several attachments. So it may not know whether or not those documents will meet the requirements. That's the section where you really have to be careful to check and ensure your documents are the ones that are mandatory. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Perfect. So the Transfer Payment Ontario, or as we love to say, and I mentioned TPON, all applications must be submitted through the TPON online application portal. The application portal was new last year, and we are continuing to work with this technology into this year. In order to access the portal, applicants must have that My Ontario account set up in advance. So here on this slide, for those that may not see the slide, we have provided the link. It will be provided in the chat. It is in the guidelines, or you can reach out to us. Once you have your My Ontario account and you log in, you will then go to the next screen and it will show you an Experience Ontario icon that has fireworks. Click on that Experience Ontario fireworks card and that will enter into the program selection page. That page will have the capacity building stream application, the established events stream application, and then below, the previous applicants can still log in because they are in their final reporting process right now. So we wanted to ensure that they could still access their final report module. That's why you see those three listed there. Once you have selected your stream, you will be directed to the eligibility assessment page where you will review key criteria and determine your eligibility of the program. If you meet the eligibility criterion, then you will receive the approved check mark and then you can start your application. Otherwise, it will tell you you're ineligible and you won't be able to proceed. Once you go into the portal, you'll want to complete what we call the accordions. When you look in the TPON portal, you will see a little plus sign at each section. When you click the plus sign, that's how it will open up to show you all of the questions. our pro tip is to save often. You do have the opportunity to save your draft as you're doing your work. But we recommend not just doing it when you may need to log in, log off. If you complete a section, I would say save a draft, because you want to make sure you're saving your progress as you go along. And then, as I mentioned, Dave, once you've completed all those sections, you'll see that review before submitting button, and that's what they'll do before they go to the final submission.
We've had a question, Tiffany. What if a new organization does not have a financial audit available by the time of application?
A new organization that
So that would, maybe we
has been in place since January 2025 or before?
Yeah, maybe we need some clarification. It's from Jess Thorpe. Jess, are you talking about a brand new, you're applying in the new stream? Then you wouldn't have a financial statement. But if you've already run a year in, you should have financial documents. Is that correct, Tiff?
Yeah, so what I would say is, for example, so yeah, that probably needs some clarification. If you're talking about a new organization, I'd say give us a call and let's talk about your scenario. But for some folks, because we're still in the 2025 program year, if you don't have your financial audited statements for this year, you can submit your 2024 audited financial statements. So the year prior.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. But yes, if it's a new organization, give us a call. Let's chat about it if you're looking at the new stream. But the new organization must have been in effect from January 1st, 2025 or before. So let's have that conversation if you need some assistance there. Pro tip, and I guess I can't reiterate these pro tips enough, but make sure that the supporting documents such as audit financial statements, budget breakdown, marketing strategy, etc., are provided in the documentation section. And as I mentioned, review those application guidelines. We outlined those mandatory document needs there, but also we can help you if you want to give us a call just to double check on some of that criteria. Once you've clicked through the application, you begin to fill out all the various sections, save as a draft as you go along, as I mentioned, and be sure to fill out the details and follow the instructions provided on the character count, required fields, and amounts. This section is one I love to talk about with my clients when I'm doing consultations, whether they're asking me or not, because you are limited to 2,500 characters in your long form answers. So I would say you can definitely do bullet points. We're okay with that. Reduce the amount of maybe filler words that you might be using. We want to ensure that we're using clear, concise language and that the person that is reviewing your application has a clear idea of or a clear understanding of your answers. So it's important to note that the RDA in your area may or may not be the person doing the assessment. So you'll always want to talk to us as if we don't know about your event or program. And this is especially important because I know we have a lot of long-standing events, 40, 30 plus years, where you guys have been producing some really fantastic events across the province. But do talk to us like you're brand new, we don't know. It's really important to add that key information. So I would just say keep your answers concise, avoid repeating information, focus on key points that directly address each question, and use clear language to show your eligibility and impact. I would also say if you're finding that your answers might be repetitive or you're kind of putting the same information in each question, give us a call because each of these questions are designed for specific information. We're not necessarily looking for repetitive information. So we might want to kind of talk through the questions with you if you're finding that it might sound like it's asking for the same thing in a different way. Let's talk about it. And in your submitting your application, when you're ready to go, submit your application and make sure you click Save a Draft if you haven't already done so, and then click Review before submitting. If you save your draft when you're complete, at least you'll have everything in place. If you go through and then go to submit and something might happen, you might have to start again. So really click that Save as a Draft, Review before submitting. And if you're spending a lot of time importing information, be sure to save a draft often, as I've said. have a backup copy ready. So maybe save some answers in a Word document just so that you've got some backups. We always want to anticipate when we're working with technology that we could have some glitches or issues. So whatever you can do to help support yourself to ensure you're not starting all over again or from a blank slate, we encourage. Some folks like to use a Word version where they've got their answers in case they have to input it again.
If we
For
got
transfer,
another question, and it's
great.
a similar question to Jessica. If our not-for-profit community organization doesn't have audited financial statements, can it still be eligible? Example, if an organization earns 250,000 or less in a fiscal year, it is typically required to prepare unaudited financial statements or review letters. They're not required to do a full audit. Are they still eligible at that point?
Again, Dave, I'd have to say give us a call because it's really important that there is a third party assurance. So if they have a review engagement, if they have the other supporting documents, whether it's the balance sheet, income statement, forgive me because there's 4 or 5 documents that we'd like to see. We want to ensure that at least if there is forgive me, accountant or accounting firm that can sign off to say these are fair and have been reviewed. So we have to talk about that because the financial audited statements are a requirement. But I want to make sure we understand their situation fully so that we can kind of negotiate. Negotiate's the wrong word. Discuss what we could do to support you there. Sometimes with those questions, we would even ask the program area for clarification.
So again, I think it's pretty clear that if you don't have a set of audited financial statements, best to get in touch with your advisor and work through that process. That's the
Yes.
safest point moving forward.
Yes, I agree because I would never recommend not to include them. That could be seen as missing documents or deem you ineligible. So talk to us first and let's see that we can make sure that we're adhering to the guidelines and have the information that we need to ensure that organizational capacity is strong.
Okay, back to your pro tips.
Great. Well, we're almost there, folks. So we appreciate you hanging in while we try to go through a lot of this critical information to help set you up for your success. One of the last things we're going to talk about is that technical support piece for the Transfer Payment Ontario system. Regional development advisors can't necessarily help you with the technical issues with TPON. You do have to submit a ticket and either calling them or sending them an email to let them know what your issue is, and then they can kind of help you. They're like the IT of the application process. So reach out to your Tourism Regional Development Advisor. Again, like I said, regarding the program, specific festival events, we've got a QR code there on the screen, so you know where to find us. Otherwise, if you've got a technical issue, do contact TPON directly.
And I think if I'm going to jump in there, we had some issues last year and people contacted us. We contacted the ministry and were able to get an extension because of it. So important to communicate that through the proper channels and then let your regional advisors, let Festival and Events Ontario know, and we can work it out with the ministry and Experience Ontario.
Yeah, so even though when you give them a call, they do log it as a ticket, I tend to encourage that you send them an email. Then you have a copy of your reach out to TPON with a timestamp on it too for when you sent it. And sometimes you can copy your Tourism Regional Development Advisor, even though we can't necessarily help with that technical piece. It's good for us to know and to see if you're having an issue. And sometimes it could be things like maybe the wrong link or the wrong part of TPON or something funky that maybe we can help troubleshoot. So it is, as you said, Dave, good to keep us in the loop. And then hopefully we can try to resolve quickly. Dave and I were talking about this earlier, that the TPON portal was introduced brand new last year in 2024. And we have been working with that program throughout the entire year because that also supports those final report backs. So a lot of work has been done to kind of iron out those initial issues that we did see last year. But given that it is technology, it sometimes can be unpredictable. So we do have the supports in place, and hopefully we'll see a smoother process this year. So far, so good into week 1 already.
And just want to jump in. Somebody's added into the chat the guidelines around financial statements, so might want to have a read there. Anybody that's in question, and again, like we said, best to reach out to your advisors with those questions as well.
Perfect. Was that an answer that was provided? Because one of my colleagues might be in the chat helping us with that.
It might have been, yeah.
Okay, that's great. As I said, we're here to support you, so it's great to see me here and Dave helping us, and then our folks jumping in on the chat to try to get you the answers that you need. Our last slide is just a reminder of those key resources and festival events in Ontario. Provide them in the chat there. We can send these out by email if you need. I threw on some QR codes for those that might be able to see the screen, that this will take you directly to some of these key resources. The application guide, of course, make sure you've got that on hand while you're going through your application process. Experience Ontario program area does have a mailing list. So if you need to be added to that mailing list to receive information about Experience Ontario into the future, then you can drop them an email to make sure you're added. Just a note, if you have a Experience Ontario TPON account, my understanding is that if you've applied before, you should be already on that list. Hopefully I'm not wrong about that, but just to ensure, you can email Experience Ontario. If you want to take a look at what other provincial government funding programs and supports are available, we've got a link for where all of the funding programs are listed. They are consolidated and are all on one page. And if you are looking for how to get your business number and CRA program accounts, we've provided a link here for how to register at canada.ca. I cannot say it enough. For your reminder, is your application deadline is December 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I think now we go on to questions and all my thanks for being here. So I'll leave up the thank you slide because it does have the QR code for your regional development advisors. But Dave, if we've got any other questions, we're happy to have a chat moving forward. And thank you for the time and your patience as we go through this key information. And we're looking forward to supporting you in the next couple of weeks as we get the applications in.
Yeah, Tiffany, so far, no questions. We just had a comment from somebody. Thank you. This has been great. It's from one of your Toronto friends. So from Toronto Fringe. Yeah, I think the big thing is, if in doubt, reach out to your advisors. They're there for a reason, and they're very helpful. Some people may ask us afterward if the deck is shareable. It's not, but it is available on our YouTube channel on this pre-recorded thing with all of the QR codes and the chats and stuff. So see if we have a question here.
Yeah, the deck is primarily the guidelines, just presented in a different way to help prompt and ensure that I provide you with all of the information I needed to cover today. So fear not about the deck itself. Those application guidelines are the go-to document for this process.
So Tiffany, we've got another thank you from the Toronto Burlesque Festival. Question from Janine Wilson. Read total revenue from your most recent festival or event. Does this include government funding?
We do ask you to, when you're demonstrating your revenues, that you do break out any funding that you're receiving. So we like to see that broken out in the revenue section. So yes. And Experience Ontario, I believe, gets listed there even if it's pending, I believe.
And Aruba from your office has posted a link on how to find your advisor if you're not sure. Certainly after the cast, you can also get in touch with us. We'll get you in touch with the office and find out who your advisor is as well. But like you said, it is mapped out pretty well on the site to how to find them.
Yeah, and you can always email me too, because I can always reconnect you. So there are lots of ways we're here. You can definitely find us. So you can always send me a quick email. And if it's not, I am, and pardon me, I didn't state, but I am the Toronto Peel RDA. So I cover all of the city of Toronto, Brampton, Mississauga, and sometimes Caledon, the entire Peel region.
And of course, all of us at FEO, we're always here to help out and make the connection to you. So lots of ways to find them, a lot of benefits by using your advisors. Another question here, that would be on the 20% application under provide revenue generated from the festival and events in that box. That would be on the 2026 application.
Yeah, is that a question or a statement?
Yeah, I think it's a statement.
Comment? Yeah.
Question. That would be on the 2026 application under the revenue generated from festival and events. In that box is a question. Right, and that's about the revenue from the government. So yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, you can add all your different revenue streams in that section. Hopefully that makes sense. If there's something still pending there, please reach out to us. We'll help clarify.
It's the only number in the box, Janine says. I think it might be best that you reach out, Janine, just to get clarification on that if you're not sure. Like Tiff said, you typically list all of your different revenue streams. So if you're unsure, reach out to your advisor and they'll be able to help you out there.
Yeah.
Any other questions before we wrap up? I know Tiffenni and all of the advisors, it's the busiest period for them. Lane Hilton asks, are there any changes to this year's applications from last? I think Tiffenni went through them earlier in the presentation. Tiff, do you want to just
Yep, I would just highlight that if you are applying for the capacity building stream, there are some slightly new information that we're looking for. So it looks very similar to the standard application, but we are asking for that business case and some additional information to support the capacity building application. For the established stream, it's pretty standard in terms of year over year, but new for this year was being able to select your tourist attendance from the best year of your previous, any time within your previous 3 years, rather than just providing us with your tourist information from last year or from this year's program. If you were running an event in the summer, inclement weather and other things could impact your attendance. So this year we're allowing opportunity to provide your best year, any attendance from the last 3 years.
Tiff, in that same stream, could you average your 3 years, or are you just picking one specific year?
You're picking one specific year. My understanding is I think we ask for the year. So you might say 2023, and these are my attendance, or in 2024, this was my tourism attendance.
Okay.
You can certainly mention your average in your long form answers if you wanted to talk about overall the success that the event has year over year with having tourist attendance. That would be great to include. But it wouldn't be 2023 to 2025 average. That's not the question for this year.
Okay.
That makes sense? I think that, yeah.
Last call for questions. Well, Tiffenni, looks like you've answered everybody's questions. Thank you very much. This has been a very quick turnaround for us, 1 week out, and to have an advisor on with a prepared deck, it's certainly helpful for all of our members, and we really do appreciate. So on behalf of everybody at Festival and Events Ontario, Tiffenni, thank you very much for a very in-depth presentation.
It's our absolute pleasure, Dave. As I mentioned, regional services at the Ministry of Tourism, Culture, Gaming is here to support you. Your success is our success. So I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to come and speak to you on a broader level. I know we've mentioned it a few times, but do give us a call if you need some more one-on-one assistance or consultation, or if you have applied in the past, like for last year, for example, and you want to debrief, we could review that as well. So we're definitely want to be able to help you. So reach out. And Festivals Events Ontario, thanks again for inviting us, and we look forward to continuing our collaboration. I know we've worked together year over year with my various colleagues that have done some really awesome sessions with you guys. So we're happy to have had this opportunity. So thanks again.
Thank you. Shameless plug, don't forget, for all of the FEO members, our FEO award submissions wrap up on Friday. So get your award submissions in. You don't want to miss out. It's always a great opportunity for all of us to recognize the great work that all of you do. So again, Tiffenni, thank you very much. I'm Dave MacNeil for FEO on the Air. We'll see you again next Tuesday when we have our next edition of FEO on the Air.
Thanks for listening to FEO on the Air, the voice of festivals and events in Ontario.